Living in a nightmare.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Hall of the Mountain King. I am the Mountain King, your host. Today we will continue our multi-part adventure on how to fix Dark and Darker, system by system, piece by piece. And today's topic will be that most foundational part of the extraction genre, looting, escaping, and the acquisition of power. I have a 5-point mission statement. So 1, I want to protect that feeling that you get when you find some really good gear. When you get a purple or a legendary in a chest, I want you to be excited about that. I don't want it to become nothing and unimportant like it has with this patch 69 part 2. 2, I want the increase in power from better gear to feel meaningful. If it's of a rare quality, I want it to feel like that increase in rarity is important and means something. 3, I want to maintain the fantasy of our characters to be specialists, not gods. I want us to show our individuality and diversity of build by having to pick certain stats and commit to them in order to achieve the kind of role that we want to play. 4, I want to communicate to high-end casuals and sweats that they are rewarded for getting better gear, killing a player to get it, or looting it from doing bossing. If it's rarer gear, it ought to be more valuable and reflect that value in itself. But I also want them to understand that you are not going to be immortal just because you have some bis set on, okay? And 5, and this is the most important one, I want to communicate to new players that they may, and that they will from time to time, find players that have better gear than they do. That if they're able to and they're lucky, they can beat these players. And if they lose, that they at least feel like they had a fair fight. I think there's something beautiful in being mundane. And that's what I'd like to see going forward. But the way gear and stats work now is a complete antithesis of this idea. So how does gear work now? And why can't you find a fair fight? I'm going to be using the data and analysis from June 25th, 2025, the day prior to the pre-wipe of June 26th, 2025. The reason why I'm going to be using these facts and figures is because, much like with patch 69, changes that are made like this for this pre-wipe are bound to be rolled back or negated soon. I would anticipate probably like a week or so, and then the last patch is going to be entirely relevant again. Gear right now, even when the margins are small, like between poor quality and rare quality, rare and legendary, it feels almost like you're playing an entirely different game the higher up you go in the gear brackets. It feels more like Call of Duty with swords than a dungeon crawler. Movement speed bonuses, true damage, +1 all. It all becomes really overwhelming, and it turns the whole game into something a lot more fast-paced than I think it really should be. It's no longer about spacing or calculating or checking the trajectory of your weapon when you get to the highest levels. It's a question of, did you have more +all or more bis of a set than the person that you were fighting? Look, it's a multifaceted problem. It's not just 1 or 2 numbers. I'm talking about stats stacking linearly per level of gear, random rolls stacking hyper-aggressively. I'm talking about the higher gear levels affecting the game's math in such a way to create essentially medieval war zone as opposed to a regular dungeon crawler. And hyper-complication of gear leading people to spend more time in the market than actually in the dungeon, with no gear brackets whatsoever to speak of right now. A person in poor quality gear has lost the fight before they even get close to someone in full bis, legendaries, or uniques. There's no real balance at all to these kind of gulfs in power. The result is one that we know about and one that we really hope to... Nope, not that either. Well, without these gear brackets anymore, what we're finding now is that someone in the lower tier of gear and someone in the higher tier of gear, those two may as well be playing an entirely different game from each other. We'll do an example. Gloves. Just gloves. Poor quality reinforced gloves are +2 vigor, and unique quality are +7. That's a 250% increase in raw stat power alone, and that's before factoring in armor or any true damage, +all, or movement speed. Here's what a full set of each quality would look like with just vigor gear. You'll be asking yourself, why does this matter? Well, this matters because it kills the on-ramp for new players, which we really need right about. I've seen arguments for both sides for gear brackets. That brackets should be widened or squished or removed or increased. And while I can appreciate that all of these arguments have the intent of helping the new player experience, I think what ultimately leads to a failure of concept is that we're making these ideas without considering gear changing. I think we should have a game where we make a name for ourselves based off of our skills in combat, off of the deeds that we accomplish, or the beasts that we slay, or the treasure that we hoard. You need to go back to the Discord and re-clown comment on SDF and everything that he says, because he has the moderators reset the reactions several times a week. Go do that now. Call him a clown. On screen now, you're going to be seeing some of the values I ended up with for jewelry. Now, this is jewelry by piece. So for 3 pieces, there on the right, 0.9. That can easily be rounded up to 1. And then at the unique end, 2.4 for a full set of 3 unique pieces of jewelry. And that can be rounded up to 2.5 if SDF prefers rounder numbers. And now on screen, you'll be seeing what the final scaling was for gear after we did our changes. I'll be showing you the graphs here in a second. Now, I know there's a big part of this topic that we haven't covered yet, that being random modifiers. Stats on gear ultimately aren't the majority of the stats that you can accrue if you stack everything properly right now. One way to balance this out is to completely remove them, but that is not the right way to do it. Obviously, plus all and plus movement speed and true damage need to be removed entirely. And I do think that the incremental increase in random modifiers is probably the root of how much of an imbalance there is in gear right now. One potential fix I think we could try on the test server, and I think it would go along pretty well, would be enchantment families, a la World of Warcraft. So for instance, you could have riveted gloves of the whale and have vigor and will every single time whenever you have anything of the whale. You could do something like of the tiger, which is strength and agility, or you could do something like Windwalker, which is agility and magical damage resistance. And I think the way you could make this work is by having a range of values that you could get per rarity level. So for instance, poor could have 0.1 to 0.5, and legendary could have 0.1 to 2, for instance. That's just an idea. Mountain King, I hear you say, my stocks are crashing. I can't invest in resourcefulness anymore. What do I do? Well, we're actually going to talk about stat reworks and how these changes I'm going to propose can make you feel more interesting as a mundane person who invests into abilities and gets rewarded by having cool skills to go with them. So we'll start with strength. Right now, strength will increase your health by a small margin, but also increase the force with which you beat the hell out of the person in front of you. And while a strong person would have both of these attributes, they're also missing critical things like how far they can carry heavy objects and how quickly they can break a door into splinters. So I think SDF beat me to the punch here with the pre-wipe by giving crush to everybody who had enough impact on their weapon. But I think it should be based more on strength than the weapon's impact power alone. A rogue with a lot of strength and just a dagger would probably be able to pick apart a door if he was strong enough. And also, and this is where move speed being removed from gear comes in, being strong means that your gear will weigh you down a whole lot less. So you won't need high agility and you won't need movement speed on your gear if you're strong enough to be able to lug it around and get it to where it needs to go. For willpower, I think it's already pretty robust with it giving magic power, magic resistance, buff and debuff duration. Personally, I'd give magic resistance in Dark and Darker the Morrowind treatment by making you resistant to negative effects, but also be resistant to positive effects. I think this could limit the power of the buff ball by having high magic resistance barbarians also get less healing and less duration on haste or invisibility. Agility is already God by giving you move speed and action speed baseline, and I don't think it needs to be expanded too much, except for in the favor of rogues who already are going to have very low strength, having even lower strength with this reduced ceiling, giving high agility the ability to reduce your movement noise and also increase your jump height. That way we can get rid of double jump completely, and the ambush playstyle of rogues would be a little bit more respected. So resourcefulness has always been the kind of dead stat that you're disappointed to see on your gear. Sorcerers need it, but everyone else just kind of uses it to open doors or loot the pile faster. It doesn't really have much use outside of that. But I think we could make it so that it means efficiency from now on. You could find more hunting loot on monsters, or you could be more efficient with consumables, getting better effects, or at higher levels of resourcefulness, having the chance to not even use up that consumable, to drink a potion and still have it because you've been efficient with it and saved some bit of it for yourself. I think also, just like with knowledge for magical traps or for magical secret switches to buttons if we get a PvE overhaul, resourceful players will be able to see where the traps are and also be able to find those hidden buttons or hidden pressure pads to find more treasure in the dungeon themselves. Reducing the ceiling and reducing how much of a stat you can get will force you to specialize instead of expecting to get a whole bunch of every single one. You could think of a high resourcefulness barbarian with potion chugger being able to get the most out of his potions. And if we get an alchemy expansion in the future, maybe making potions of strength or agility, you could really make your character into the Witcher if you wanted to. So what would I like to see in the future? Well, my perfect vision for Dark and Darker in the future is to confidently remove gear brackets and know for a fact that the new player experience is not going to be completely destroyed by some Chad running around in the best gear possible. I'd like to see the lower potential for gear stacking to result in people picking more specifically the kind of stat they want for their playstyle or for their build. I think this would help a lot with build diversity and make the game a little bit more exciting to try out new ways of playing. Thanks for watching to the end. Here's your Dwarven Wisdom. About a month ago, I was finally inspired to start making videos on this channel by people like Wrath of Koopa and Ryan 6 Days a Week. And I was riding the high for the first week after making my first video, thinking that, hey, a lot of people are getting vocal and I'm finally contributing to the conversation. I think we can actually turn things around. But with this pre-wipe and reinstating patch 69, a patch that we already rolled back and a failure that we should have learned from, it's become very apparent to me that we might be sinking together on this ship and there might not be anything we can do. So going forward, I'm going to finish this series of videos and give the whole swath of ideas that I have to possibly improve this game and make it more fun and bring people back. Because I'm obsessed, and I can't stop thinking about this game even when I can't play it, or don't want to. You know, it really kills me, because I used to dream about this game. Like, I used to, during the playtest when it first came out, I'd be like, oh man, I have to play more Dark and Darker. I can't go to sleep because, man, I got to get back on the servers. There's only like a day left to play or whatever. And now I can't even bring myself to play this game. I'm dressing up like a dwarf to talk about online why I can't play this game anymore and how to make it more fun. Like, it's just killing me.
Because the game just sucks.
It's just not fun anymore. It's just not fun anymore. It's not what I was hoping it would be. The game is such a good way of being an engine for stories, creating that kind of fantasy adventure that you always wanted, and now I can't even have that remotely because of the direction that this whole thing's been taken. It's like seeing your favorite toy smashed in front of your face by someone who hates your toy, even though they're the one who made the toy.
That's not fair.
Those are my honest thoughts. That's not fair at all. Yeah, so
That's not fair to you and to the other players.
that's not fair to nobody. So look, if you take anything from this, please let it be that I love this game. And my ultimate fantasy is to be hired one day by Iron Mace, to get a call from Terry like, hey, SDS fired, you're in, let's turn this shit around. That would be awesome, but I don't think we're gonna get far enough along to even have that be possible. We'll see. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Like, consider subscribing, and good luck out there in the dungeons. Good luck in the dark. I am the Mountain King, signing off. The one I would expect the new player experience to be actually, no, I'm going to skip the domino effect. I'm going to skip this. I was writing this while I was absolutely stoned. Very good. Oh, you okay? There's a floor there, baby. All right, let's fucking do this. We're doing great.
You're cooking, baby.
We're cooking. We're cooking. We're cooking. We're cooking.
Can I fart real quick?
Yeah, I gotta fart real quick.
Okay.
Cute.
That was a little one.
who invest in abilities and are rewarded by it. Fuck me. Okay. All right.